You remember the story. If you do, sorry. If you don't, it's a logging story. There's a logging town in Pacific Northwest. Pastor comes to the new church. He spends some time there. First Sunday, he preaches a sermon, "Thou shalt not steal." And everybody thinks that he was magnificent. Excellent sermon. And it perplexed him because he knew that there were loggers in his church that were stealing. How? At the headwaters, people would cut down timber, put it in the river, send it down, and then their co-laborers would gather it up at the foot of the river. It's a transportation system, a little highway system for them. Efficient, so you don't have to schlep it. Problem was, people in between the headwaters and the footwaters, that's what they're called, would intercept the logs. So the people at the headwaters said, here's what we'll do. We'll brand the end of the log so that nobody can take it because they'll see it already belongs to somebody else. Well, what did people do? They intercepted it, cut off that part of the log, and then put their own brand on it, sent it downriver to their buddies. In other words, they were stealing. And there were people in his congregation that were doing that very thing, and they applauded him for his wonderful sermon, "Thou shalt not steal." So the next Sunday, he preached a sermon, "Thou shalt not cut off the ends of other people's logs." Nobody thanked him for that sermon. Why? Because they had the finger of the law specifically poked into their wound, and it stung. And we need to do that as much as we possibly can. We don't want to be offensive, but if you don't help people, to talk about it in kind of general, silly terms, it's nothing that's silly. And the law needs to be applied directly. So here's the text that I just received. I'm working with a buddy of mine on a new booklet. We've got Don't Stub Your Toe available at wretched.org. We've got that booklet. It's got law. It's got gospel, all of the objections that I typically hear people offer. I think it's an excellent thing to give to people. Leave behind at restaurants. It's available at wretched.org. We're working on a new booklet, and it punches a hole into people's evolutionary worldview and then fills it with gospel truth, kind of an expository apologetics approach. And we were talking and debating about this very issue. How much can you include in a booklet that you're going to give to somebody on a campus or church or wherever that you think needs to get saved? And be really specific, because my buddy was saying, look, I've been in enough government schools because his wife is a teacher. The kids, they don't think lust is, like, to say you lust and that's a sin. They're like, no, it's not. We've been taught that we're nothing but evolved dirt. We're just animals acting like animals. And they don't feel any conviction. So we got into a bit of a tussle. And this is what we came up with. You might want to consider using this inside of your witnessing to put your finger into somebody's wound. Because the current culture, they don't understand sin in the same way. It's a less churched culture. There's less societal shame that is applied. And so if you do say things like lying, they might go, well, everybody does it. I can justify that. I still think we should use it. What are the sins that our current culture, especially millennials, believe is really sinful? Here's a list for you. Elitism. That is a sin. James made it clear. Favoritism. Racism. Sexism. Bullying. Envy. Slander. Those are not typically sins that you and I talk about when we witness. We tend to focus on 10 Commandment type of stuff. Well, there are more moral commands by which people will be judged. Maybe you'll want to incorporate these into to help somebody on a campus or whatever the generation happens to be go, wow, I'm going to be judged for that? Here's the list again. Elitism, favoritism, racism, sexism, bullying, envy, slander. I got the envy and slander from 1 Peter 2 last night when I was in my 68 hours of private quiet time before going to bed. He said, don't let this be named among you. Envy and slander. Our generation doesn't think that slander is a good thing. It's not nice. Maybe you could use that as a sin. So use your personal testimony. You could even apply these sins to yourself. I was very elitist. I thought I was better than everybody else. I had favorites. I had racist thoughts. I could be sexist. I could be as much of a bully. Okay, I can't beat anybody up because I can't fight my way out of a wet paper bag. even rip rice paper. But the point is, I could, with words, with attitudes, envying other people who had more than I had, slandering. Wow, could I backbite people like nobody's business to help them understand their own sins? But do your absolute best to not keep it couched in it was just you that's this way, but you are the man. And by the way, we do that a lot in Don't Stub Your Toe. Get 12, get 52 copies at wretched.org. Leave them behind once a week or once a month so that somebody can hear that they are the man, but there is also a man who is a great Savior. This is Wretched Radio. Don't forget, if you would like to hear the entire daily broadcast, simply visit wretched.org, go to iTunes, figure out your favorite Android listening platform, and you can listen to the entire program every single day, downloaded to your listening device for free. Well, thanks to our monthly supporters called the Gospel Partners. If you'd like to partner with us, we'd be very, very grateful. Simply visit wretched.org.